The opposition parties are making it clear this evening that the Home Affairs Minister cannot divorce himself from the police force's action at Linden last week during that protest by residents. The police riot squad, in an effort to disperse the protesting crowd, fired live rounds at the protesters. 3 of the protesters died. Over 20 others were seriously injured. There have been calls for the Home Affairs Minister Clement Rohi to resign from office. He said he is not moving and staying put. The opposition will now be moving to the National Assembly with a no-confidence motion. AFC Executive Member Attorney Nigel Hughes said the Home Affairs Minister should allow his conscience to be his guide and not just demit office.
And more particularly in the case of this minister, there has been a series of events which clearly have demonstrated his inability to manage the office and the inability of the Ghana Police Force to comply with standard operating procedures. I will just identify 4 of them as a matter of interest. You have the Lindo Creek situation that happened under his guard. You have the Lenora trauma situation that was dealt with by my colleague, where that young man was tortured in the Lenora police station. You have the December shooting where several members of the public were shot in the back by the Guyana Police Force. And I think the minister himself confessed or said in the interview on Sunday that the day before he had a meeting with the senior police officers and they gave him the assurance that there be no live ammunition used. But in the light of the fact that the Ghana Police Force clearly are not bound by his instructions or clearly do not abide by their undertakings given to the minister, it is clear that he exercises very little influence over them. So it must be evident to him that clearly he cannot possibly continue in that office.
The Alliance for Change intends to raise the Linden incident with the United Nations Office for Human Rights as well as the CARICOM Secretariat here in Georgetown. Meanwhile, former PPP, now AFC Member of Parliament Moses Nagamutu said Lindeners have every right to protest.
Minister Rohi can't talk about his conscience in the light of his involvement in the preparation for the use of lethal force. He may not have pulled the trigger, and no one is saying that, but Mr. Rohi certainly placed the bullet in the guns that took the lives of the Linden martyrs and wounded so many others unconscionably. And this has a greater implication that it was the people's peaceful protest. It was the PPP that they have decided to rout with force and bloodshed.
Nagamutu has also issued a call for the rest of Guyana to understand the concerns of Lindeners and be supportive to their cause.
The PPP had led demonstrations in Berbice, in which I was a participant. Camraj was a participant against the toll gates. And those toll gates were demolished, redrawn, put out of operation under the Burnham regime. Not a single life was lost. So that there is a comparison that when people resist economic hardship and the imposition of economic hardship on them, they have a right constitutionally and as citizens of the country to peacefully resist the hardship. And that is why we find that it is so despicable that any attempt ought to be made to isolate the Linden situation and treat it as if it were a violent uprising against the state. It was, like other situations on the Sugar Belt, it was a justifiable, righteous movement to protect the welfare of people.
Both the Alliance for Change and the APNU have indicated that they intend to take no-confidence motions before the National Assembly this week.